So it is currently early February, and I thought, why not maybe a good time to show off and see what's available for foraging this time of year. And truthfully, in my experience, not much out here. There is still stuff that you can find, but it's kind of the resting period in the season. But it is a great time to get comfortable with some of your more easily or identifiable trees and other small shrubs that you can really pop out when there's no leaves or foliage to find. So I'm gonna be showing some of those things today. It's probably around 5 to 10 trees, so it's kind of like a winter plant walk. If you were to be doing this on your own, then I would recommend wearing some good layers, maybe a cup of tea or something that you could bring with you, and also being mindful of different wildlife and things that may still be present. If you're in certain areas that may be doing prescribed burns or areas that may have active hunting or things going on, I'd be mindful and contact your local area to be comfortable and making sure you're being safe with the areas that you are going out in. And in that case, let's see some of the stuff that we can find. Now, truthfully, it's been a long time since I've been out here to be able to go out and foraging. I've been really busy trying to get stuff ready for the season with stuff that's happening around the city. But I love being able to go on these walks and see what's coming up. And truthfully, my tree ID or broadly winter ID is not that great. So as I'm going through and showing you all some of the stuff I'll know, I'll be learning about a lot of the things that I'm not that familiar with too. So yeah, there's that aspect of it too. Speaking of which, we've got our first thing that I want to talk about. On survival too, I know there's a lot of people who are looking to get into foraging from the survival perspective of it, because people are scared and freaked out about the economic state of the world. But even though those things are happening, I do encourage that, apart from it being something that is a valuable skill to have, I mean, it's just great being able to be outside and learn about different plants and things that are coming up. And you start to have a better appreciation for the smaller things when you do go out and start learning about a lot of these native, non-native, and also the invasive ones too. Something to be mindful of that's not dogwood, that's red like this. You also can notice it's got this powdery blue coloring on here. This is black raspberries in the rubus genus and rose family, and there's a whole plethora of different species of rubus family genus plants that you'll find around here. But this is the one that's going to stand out in the wintertime because it's got these bright purple, deep purple canes with these little powdery dust that you can rub off. Same thing with these also little thorns. Same thing as these little thorns that hang on to here as well, which I believe are not actually called thorns. I'll put the name on screen as well of what they're called. You can actually make a little beer with the little yeast of this white powdering that you'll see on the outside. And I know some friends who have brewed their own ale with black raspberry canes, which is pretty cool. They do produce an edible black raspberry in the early spring, and also as well as being able to get tea from them, but they don't have the same effects as red raspberry leaf tea, so something to be mindful of. But with these leaves, they are using it to research to crack down on nicotine addiction because it hits the same receptors. That's pretty cool. Another thing that's pretty... Oh! Even outside of that, I get so excited about seeing these. This little green shrub right here is a wild carrot, or Queen Anne's lace. It is a true carrot in the carrot family. Dacus or Darkus, I always mess up the pronunciation. But you can find true carrots, and these are edible, little green leaves and also the flower tops. There is a little edible root in there, but it's really woody and thin and not that great. I'd recommend using it actually for like in place of a soup or something like that. Shout out to the wasp nests right there. That thing is crazy. Now, if there's any tree that I want you to remember for the wintertime, it's going to be this one. This is an oak tree. Specifically, it's a white oak tree, but you don't need to know that. Oak trees are unique because here, where we are in this oak savanna, previously oak savanna and prairie wildlife area, you would have found a lot of these oak trees growing. And what's unique is that unlike other deciduous trees that drop a lot of their leaves in the late fall, these drop some of their leaves in the late fall, but keep a lot of them on until the spring. So they mulch in the spring and in the fall, which is unique, unlike some of the other trees that you'll find. And you'll still see the brown leaves hanging on like this. And also, how I know it's a white oak is, one, the shape of the leaves. They have rounded lobes, and I'll put a picture of some up there, unlike the pointed ones that are in red oaks. Another factor is the bark. It's very it doesn't have any deep grooves on it. It's got this shag-plated bark that's growing on there, different than some of the red oaks that have kind of deep imprinted grooves. And we like to say that they have false, it has like false grooves or false bark on there because it looks kind of like an image or a print on it instead of a true deep segmented little grooves like this. On to doing a tree bonus round. This is a black cherry tree that's got these really kind of square shagmented bark that grows like this. And it's not going to stand out to you, but the more of these videos you watch, the more you're going to notice and see when it stands out like this. But it's got this deep ridge bark and laid. And it's also, if you notice, I actually will grab a little piece off of this and say thank you for the tree. You'll notice two things. One, on the inside of it, you'll notice it's got this little reddish coloring on the inside. As well, you'll see these like little streaks or lacerations that are on the outside of it. These are called lenticels, and it's the breathing pores on the outside of the tree, apart from the ones that grow on leaves, the stomas. Now, you'll see these lenticels that grow all along the jagged ridges of trees. And with black cherry, they're really prominent on the younger trees you'll see, but they still are there present on the older specimens you'll find. And this does produce an edible fruit that can be made into medicines, food, and also an almond extract from the seeds that I just learned about. That's pretty cool. So that's pretty cool. This is a black cherry tree, and I'm going to show you another distinct tree. It's starting to snow and it's getting really cold now, so I'm going to cover these last 3 evergreens. I didn't make the 10, but this is what we got for this week. So this tree that I'm standing in front of is a Ponderosa pine. It's an ornamental pine that's brought in from parts of the Midwest. It's not really native locally to here. But the reason why I'm pointing it out is because it's got some of the longest pine needles you'll find, similar to the longleaf pine needles that you'll find in the South. But the distinction is that both of these pine needles will have 3 leaves in each little receptacle here. But what's distinct about the Ponderosa pine, unlike the other ones that you'll find, is that the leaves are much thicker. This is my preferred species to actually get pine needles for basket weaving. It's one of my favorites. It's kind of distinct here, specifically because the leaves are a much lighter green compared to some of the spruces and other pine trees you'll find, like the red pine. Another component about these that I really enjoy is the segmented bark that you'll see growing along here. They've got like kind of a reddish underside bark, and it's not as blocky and segmented as the red pine that you'll find. Another pine tree that you'll see, which is actually I'm standing a little bit in front of, is a hybrid white pine. Now this is a white spruce, and it's actually a hybrid. I'm not going to be able to speciate what kind because it's an ornamental variety, but I can tell it's a white spruce, mainly because of how the pine needles are growing on here compared. They are really fine. And similar to our native eastern white pine, these are also in multiples of 4 and 5 that you'll find. But eastern white pine tends to grow much taller and has a very strong, distinct pine smell. When you get the chance to go out and start smelling different varieties of pine, give them a smell. Each tree kind of has its own distinct smell that's unique to each one. If you go down south and smell some of the long needle pines, you can smell it all throughout the countryside air. And it smells differently compared to the pine trees that we have here. Very tactile way, not a good way of identification completely, but start getting yourself familiar with some hand tactile ways of recognizing these trees. Speaking of smell, already since I've moved over to this tree, it's got a different smell, and it's really smelling off a lot differently than the pine trees I was next to. This is a spruce tree. Now, I don't know what kind of spruce tree. Usually the ornamental ones you'll find will be blue spruce in landscaping, or you'll find species of cedar or juniper. This is another tree that you'll find. Common Christmas trees are usually going to be some kind of spruce. Oh, man. One of the key characteristics is that the needles on spruce trees grow individually. They won't be collected in a little pocket like some of the pine tree leaves that you'll find. Each leaf grows directly on the tree, whereas these are little collections that are attached to the tree. Now it's getting pretty cold. I hope I was able to cover a few things this early February for you all. And as it starts to get warmer, still pay attention to the spruce and evergreens that you'll find along growing in the area. And happy foraging.